7:30. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our show tonight. No clicking. Got sound first time, yay! So, hello, Yvonne. How is everybody? I hope you've all had a lovely week. It's been cold and wet here, but it's still winter. What do we expect? I had a really interesting reaction to last week's show. Lots of questions about pantries and stockpiling and things. So I'm just going to go back, and you can go back and view last week's show if you missed it. After we finished here, that's fine. But I need to stress that during the show, I said, buy only what you use. And some of the comments were, no, you should buy other things too. No. Okay. The point of that show was to get you ready so that you would have a pantry of food that you could live off during a food shortage. So you buy and stock only what you need for that sort of thing. We are preparers. We aren't preppers. There is a difference, folks. So I don't want anyone to confuse what I was saying. I say buy for that pantry, buy only what you will use. If you buy other things that you don't use and you can't trade them with someone, you can't swap them, you can't use them for anything else, you've wasted your time, you've wasted your money, and you've taken up valuable space on your shelves that could have been turned over to something that you do use. Only stockpile the things that you use. Now, I was talking last week about the food shortages, and yes, I think they will happen. I think they are happening now. But there are other reasons to have food in your house. Illness, sudden unemployment, natural disasters, a pandemic where you're on lockdown and you can't get out. All sorts of reasons for you to keep a stocked pantry of things that you will use. Anything else for those circumstances is a waste. Sometime down the track, I might expand on the things that you can use for trading and bartering if you want to do that, but that is not the point of last week's video. Last week's video was to get you ready so that if there's a sudden huge price increase and meat doubles in price, which has been predicted it will do, you've got enough to see you through so that you won't have to panic or you won't have to go out. If there's suddenly no Wheat Bix on the shelves for whatever reason, you will have enough to see you through until more becomes available. That's what the purpose of last week's show was about. That's what I'm hoping most of you took away from it. We are preparers. We are not preppers. Okay, so this week's program is going to carry on from that a bit, and I'm going to talk about the different kinds of pantries, because when I talk about my pantry, I talk about my whole pantry. So the food we have, the cleaning supplies, the toiletries, the clothes, the garden needs, all sorts of things. So I have 9 altogether. If you break them down into little bits, 9 different pantries. Now most of you will probably have around the same, and they cover pretty much all things. And of course we have our groceries in our kitchen or our laundry or under the bed or in the linen cupboard or out in the shed, wherever you have them. Most of us have those, but then you have your freezer pantry. So I look at that as part of my food pantry, but it's also a bit separate because it requires a different mindset to build it up. because meat's so expensive. So what I have in my freezer pantry are things like, oops, I made a big long list for you guys. Butter. Now, towards the end of last year, a store that's actually quite away from us, but we lucked out and we're actually driving past, had to go past it anyway to go somewhere else, had butter very, very cheaply. And butter is one of those things that we use a lot of, and it's expensive. You know, even the Coles plain label, Woolies plain label is expensive. Aldi butter is expensive, let alone the branded butters. They are very expensive. So this butter was on sale. So we ended up with 40 kilos of butter. And it's in the freezer. Now, why did I freeze it? Well, for a start, I didn't have the fridge room for it, but also it would last us, 40 kilos of butter would last us about a year as a rule. So whilst butter will store well in your fridge for a very long time, it will last even longer if it's in the freezer. So I put the butter in the freezer. Then, of course, we have things like meat. So the red meats, the casseroles, stewing steak, oyster blade, that sort of thing. Mince, when I can get it. Sausages, not very often because we're not sausage fans, but every now and then we do. Sausage mince, I tend to buy that in 5 kilo lots because that's the cheapest way for me to be able to buy it. Now, little trick we figured out a few weeks ago, if you don't have access to a butcher like I do, where you can buy sausage mince quite cheaply, and you have to buy it from the supermarket, compare the price of the chubs of sausage mince with per kilo with the plain sausages. Often the plain sausages are actually cheaper, and all you've got to do is snip the end off and squeeze it out of the skin, and you've got sausage mince. So you don't, you know, you've got to be a little bit creative here if you're saving money and building your pantry. Chicken, drumsticks, fillets, wings, whole chickens for roasting, stewing, whatever. Corned beef. I have fruit in my freezer. I have berries for jam. We have stewed apples and stewed apricots and stewed peaches that we use for pies and cobblers through the year. I freeze lemons. What else do I freeze? All sorts of things. Oranges. Sometimes they'll just be whole and bung them in the freezer till I'm ready to use them, or they can be sliced, or I might just whiz a whole lot in the food processor and measure them into Ziploc bags for whole orange cake, and it's ready to go. What else do I have? Legs of lamb, I wish. We've got 1 leg of lamb left in the freezer. Two legs of lamb left in the freezer. Special occasion meat that will be in our house. Roasting beef, steak if you can afford it, and then there's the vegetables that go in the freezer. So corn, peas, carrots, spinach, silver beet, celery, onions, capsicums, tomatoes, sweet potato, pumpkin, and yes, they do freeze, and they are fine if you take them from the freezer and put them straight into the oven to roast. They are delicious. Cauliflower, broccoli, all those sorts of things. Pretty much any vegetable I will freeze. I don't blanch. Sorry guys, I know people will say, oh, you must blanch. I don't. It's a me thing. That's a step I'm happy to skip. If you like blanching, go right ahead and do it. I usually just dice and slice and put in the bags and bung them in the freezer. It's never in the freezer long enough to deteriorate for us because we go through vegetables really quickly. So that's one of my pantries. So we've got the grocery pantry, the freezer pantry. Then I have one that's also connected to the kitchen. It's all the non-food things. So oven bags. Now I know when we do Sunday roast, every Sunday I do a roast. Hannah's laughing because we have a friend that she calls Sunday roast. I use one oven bag. I use the Coles brand or the Aldi, whichever ones I can get that are cheap, because I hate cleaning the oven. I just hate cleaning the oven. And honestly, they're around 10 cents each. So I can afford 10 cents a week to save my sanity in cleaning the oven. So I use oven bags. Freezer bags. I might go through a packet, maybe not even a packet a year, but I keep them because sometimes I do need them. Foil, cling wrap, the vacuum bags and rolls, and that's not for the cleaner, the vacuum cleaner, but for the food saver. So they tend to come from Aldi when they're on sale, special buy twice a year. Go in and stock up on those. Baking paper, that goes in my non-food stockpile. Patty pans. I have silicone patty pans and I have paper ones. And sometimes I might just grease the muffin tins or whatever really well, but patty pans come in handy. I just buy the cheapest ones we can. We bought a whole heap on clearance from Coles last year. Yeah. Middle of last year, Coles had, before the oven died, Coles had really pretty ones on clearance. So we stocked up them. So they're in the cupboard up there, waiting to be used. Freezer paper. Now, I don't buy freezer paper because I save the liners from the cereal boxes, the cereals. So it gets very carefully, it's so easy to do. Rip it open really carefully across the top and bottom and down the side. Wipe it, let it dry, and then you can cut it to whatever size you like. It's perfect for layering between hamburgers or meatballs or rissoles or whatever before you freeze them. Now, I vacuum seal most stuff that goes into the freezer, but between the burgers and things, the freezer film or the cereal bag liner is really, really good because they don't stick, and then I can take one or two out if I need to. Same with the sausages. I sort of do it in an up and downy sort of thing, one on, one under, and weave it through. So the sausages will come out. I can just get one or two or three sausages out if I need them. It's an easy thing to do. Now, I like the cereal bags. Again, don't jump on me. This is just what I do. You don't have to do it, and I'm not saying you do. This is just what I do. But the cereal bag liners are thicker than the regular freezer film, so they get washed. Put them in the sink, hot soapy water, give them a rub over, rinse them, and then I just leave them. I've got clothes pegs on my keychain over there, and I just peg them up and let them dry, and I reuse them. You don't have to do that, but I do it. Works for me. Things like paper plates, paper bags. Every now and then a lunch bag comes in really handy for something, but paper plates, paper or plastic cups may not be the most environmentally friendly, but they come in handy for so many things. Disposable cutlery, same deal. May not be the most environmentally friendly, but I'm not telling you to use it every night. This is just something that I keep in our non-food stockpile for the kitchen, because every now and then you just don't want to be bothered doing dishes if you're sick, or you might have a whole heap of crumbing to do. So paper plates are the way to go, easy cleanup, that sort of thing. We also use them when we go camping because we don't have access to water. Water's really, really, really limited. We only have what we can carry. So paper plates and disposable cutlery, less washing up. What else do I have in it? Serviettes, foil trays from the barbecue. When Wayne does the roasts on the barbecue, he uses a foil tray. Sometimes I will wash it and dry it and reuse it. Depends how irky it is when we've finished cooking. Other times it just gets tossed in the bin. So, but they're cheap. Now I get those, I think the last lot came from the Reject shop, and they were packs of 20. They were big packs, and they were about $6. They were really, really cheap. And then, which would be easily 3-4 years ago, before Grandma went into the nursing home, so about 4 years ago, I bought as many as I could then. I think I cleaned the shelf of them because they are so handy for different things. They're also good for doing casseroles for parties. You want to take it to a party or a lasagna or meatballs or whatever, put it in the foil dish, take it to the party. You don't have to worry about getting a container home. But even better, if you're taking a meal to someone who is ill, having it in a disposable foil tray means they can put it in the oven and warm it up, but they don't have to worry about the dishes. There's nothing worse when you're not feeling well than having to worry about doing the dishes. So it's just another reason I keep those things in my non-food pantry stockpile. I'm sure that you will probably think of heaps more of things that you use, because these are just the things that I use in our home. Not all homes are the same. So, all right. The next one is a really big one in terms of importance in the home, but it's not that big really, and that's the cleaning stockpile. So I have laundry soap. Now I just use the Coles Savings brand white box with the red writing, $2. That's the soap I use to make my washing powder. It's just soap. Yep, it's any soap. It's just plain old-fashioned hard yellow laundry soap. I just grate it up. It's really good. It has no fragrance to it. There's nothing in it that makes any of us itch. That's why I use that soap, apart from the fact that it is dirt cheap. Borax, washing soda, bicarb soda, citric acid. Citric acid, if you buy it from the supermarket, is rather expensive. So look at an Asian grocer or an Indian grocer, Hindustan, or somewhere like that. Try and buy it in bulk because it is a great cleaner, guys. Citric acid is really good for lifting lime scale in your kettles. You know, the brownie spots and stuff you get in your kettle sometimes. If you boil it up with a little bit of citric acid in, let it sit overnight, tip it out, give it a rinse, the kettle will sparkle. But also for hard water stains in the toilet. And I know you can scrub and scrub and scrub. Those brown marks, those hard water marks, won't budge with scrubbing. But if you flush the toilet, sprinkle it with the citric acid, and then just leave it overnight, come back the next morning, then brush and flush, those stains should be gone. If they're not, just give it another treatment. It's really good for lifting stuff like that. Very, very handy thing, citric acid in the kitchen, would you believe? Eucalyptus oil, lavender oil, tea tree oil, 3 essential oils that I keep, and we use them in our cleaning. Salt, same deal. Great scourer salt. If you need to scrub a bath or a sink, salt is really good for doing that, but it's also good for cleaning your drains. Furniture polish, I like a cedar oil because we've got mostly timber furniture, and so I like to polish it with the cedar. It smells really nice. White vinegar, no more, we all know how to use that. Then I have dishwashing detergent and dishwasher powder. Scrub buds, matches, and gas lighters. Couldn't think what it was called. Gas lighters, and bug spray. Now I have surface spray and I have regular fly spray. We don't get a lot of flies in the house, and every now and then we might get a spider or two, but so they're the things. That's my cleaning stockpile. That's all I use to keep our house clean. All those things will make so many different cleaners. if you want to make a window cleaner or a floor cleaner or a wall cleaner. You can use those ingredients and get them going. Just need a drink. I've been talking a lot. All right. So, toiletries. Again, this is going to be just what we have or what I have. In our house, I buy the basics. If anyone wants anything fancier, they pay for it themselves. Basics are good enough for me. So, obviously, things like toothpaste and toothbrushes, spare heads for the electric toothbrushes, all those things regularly come on good sales, and when they are on sale, that's when I buy them. I never pay full price for those things. Mouthwash, same deal. Comes on half price sale 3-4 times a year. Buy a few bottles. Dental floss, shampoo and conditioner. I just buy the big bottles of Tresemme when they're $5 a bottle, the 900ml bottles, and I will buy as many as I can get. It doesn't go off. Now, I do dilute both the shampoo and the conditioner. Just water it down. It goes further. You still get a really good lather, but then Wayne and I both have short hair at the moment, so we don't need a lot, but just probably just a little bit in your hand. The trick to shampoo is making sure your hair is really, really wet.
And leaving it in for a minute.
And leaving it in for a minute, yep, so it will clean. Then rinsing it out, you know. Hairspray, I do use hairspray. If I'm, I haven't got hairspray in tonight, but you did cut it well, darling. But, you know, if I'm going out and I want to do something fancy with my hair, then I use hairspray. So I do keep hairspray. Again, we most buy it when it's cheap, and it will depend. I've been using Cedar because Hannah was able to pick it up for me on clearance or something. Yeah. I've used Aldi in the past. I've used Tresemme when it's been cheap, whatever's the cheapest, because honestly, I don't use it that often, so I don't need to be quite that particular about it. You might be. Hair colour. Dry shampoo. Sounds odd, but it comes in really handy sometimes. To just have just one can of dry shampoo for emergencies works well. And it's really handy for me when we go away. Deodorants, again, when they're on sale.
You use dry shampoo?
Yeah.
Never seen it.
It's because you're not in the bathroom with me doing it. Deodorants, again, when they're, you know, $2 or under, clear the shelf. It doesn't go off. It's always something that we're always going to need. So, and I just load the bathrooms up and away we go. Moisturizer, I wait till it's on half price and then I try to buy 4 at a time. Same with my hand cream, BB cream instead of foundation, mascara, lipstick, lip balm, razors, shaving cream, aftershave, body wash, soap. If you don't make it, you need to buy it. Dove bars, not the chocolate ones, the beauty bars, body creams, hand creams. All those things are in our toiletry stockpile. And they just live under the bathroom sinks, pretty much. We have it spread out between the 2 bathrooms, and it all fits quite nicely. Although Hannah does have some around the edge of the bath and then on top of the shower and then in the shower.
And then in my room.
And in her room, but that's her problem, not mine. Sunscreen I include in toiletries, and baby wipes. I go through a fair whack of baby wipes, so I usually buy the Aldi ones, the unscented Aldi ones. They're reasonably inexpensive. They're nice and big and reasonably thick, and I buy them by the box. And cotton buds, maybe 1 thing every couple of years. We don't use a lot of those, but they're there. That's in our toiletries stockpile, or our toiletries pantry. Now, an important one, and I was reading up on this today, is your first aid stockpile. Now, most homes have some sort of first aid kit or cupboard or drawer, something. But you need to go through it regularly. It needs to be checked at least every 2 years. And you need to do that because, yes, Band-Aids do go off. The glue will go off and they won't stick. Saline goes off.
Panadol.
Yeah, all your pain relievers and things also have a use by. Now, normally, you know me, it says use by or best before. I just go by looks all right, smells all right, dip a finger in it, tastes all right, then it's fine. When it comes to medicines, I don't. Just not prepared to take that risk with my family or me and our health. So I do tend to look at them. If they're getting close to time to use them up, make sure they're at the front so that things are used up. But then there's also things like the tweezers, the scissors. Make sure you've got plenty of sterile gauze and the pads for burns or scrapes and things like that, and keep them. Make sure the packets are unopened so they're still clean and sterile. The creams for insect bites or the salves for insect bites, the drawing ointments for splinters and things like that. If you've got all those things, just go through them every couple of years and restock as you need to. I also keep in there the paracetamol, the ibuprofen, the antihistamines, the gone out of my mind, our vitamins that we take, and the things like that I can buy in big jars, get them from Chemist Warehouse because that's the cheapest where I can get ones we like. Keep them in there so that they're all together. Now I have this big old Tupperware box. It's a great big yellow, it's about the size of 3 shoe boxes, maybe. Huge big thing that I actually bought for Wayne for a Christmas present before we were married, and made up a first aid kit for him to keep in his car. So it was meant to be a first aid kit. It's now moved into the house, and in the car we've got an RACV first aid kit. You could do microsurgery with that thing. It is so detailed. It is brilliant. My brother and sister-in-law gave it to us for a Christmas gift a few years ago. Fantastic. And we have used it a few times. So it's really good. So just go through your first aid, but it is something to think about. Now, if you have prescription medications that you take, they can become a part of that first aid stockpile or your medicine stockpile, call it what you like. You can speak to your doctor about getting caught up on your prescriptions and getting a couple ahead, especially at the moment when some things are quite limited. I know Wayne had trouble getting one of his prescriptions. It just wasn't available. He had to wait 3 days for it to come. So you sort of almost have to plan ahead and put your scripts in early before you run out, so that you can be sure that you'll always have your medications. So you can speak to your doctor about that. But they're the sorts of things that can also go into your first aid stockpile. Eye bath. That's another one. I was talking to a friend a few weeks ago, and she had a sty in her eye, and she was talking about eye baths. She didn't have one, and we've got a couple of different ones. One's really old school, really old school, and one's quite modern, but they still do the same thing. But they're really handy for rinsing eyes that get sand or dirt or whatever in them. The last thing, water purification tablets and life, I think they're called life straws, the ones that you, no, you should have seen her. She's got, no, not tracheotomy. No, life straws, you know, for keeping clean water. Cost us a fortune to educate her. Okay. I also have a garden stockpile. Most of you probably do. I have lots of seeds for all the things that we eat and we like to grow. The fertilizers for the fruit trees, for the veggie gardens, for the flowers. I have lots of icy pole sticks that we got from the reject shop for plant markers. They work really well. Now here's a trick. You don't have to, you know, I write on them with a Sharpie, got the icy pole stick, write on it with a Sharpie. But if you want to change it, just get a $2 tin of spray paint, craft paint from $2 shop and just give it a squirt and then write on it again. Now you can do the blackboard one, but that comes off in the weather. So, but just, and then just write on again with a Sharpie when you want to change it. Just give it another coat of paint and write on it again. You don't need to throw those icy pole sticks away. Twine, and you can have both cotton twine, rope twine, and the synthetic twine for tying things up, holding up fruit, tomato plants and things like that. Works really well. Old stockings, if you've got them, to use as plant ties because they're nice and soft and they're stretchy. And or torn sheets, if you get old sheets that are beyond anything but rag use, tear them into strips and use those as ties in the garden too. They work really, really well. The other thing that's good to keep is the onion bags. You know those plastic, the red, orangey red plastic bags that onions and apples and things come in oranges? They are great to keep for hanging fruits. Anything that looks like it's going to be tomatoes, if you've got the big tomatoes, it's going to be too big and perhaps break off before it's ready. Use those as little hammocks so you can tie them around and it will support the fruit and it won't drop off. Do the same thing on a bigger scale if you grow melons or pumpkins, watermelons, pumpkins, anything like that. Especially I grow them up the fence, so I do the vertical pumpkins. So I do the hammocks with the stretchy veggie mesh stuff to hold it up so it doesn't fall down, doesn't break the vine, and it's not going to rot in the ground. Garden hose, spare garden hose. Honestly, I don't know what the deal is with garden hoses, but doesn't matter how much you pay for it, they don't last very long. All right, so that's just a few of the things that we have in our garden stockpile. Gloves is another one. Whenever I see them and they're $1 a pair, I pick up a few and put in the cupboard in the shed because they come in handy. Those sorts of things. Now, clothing stockpile. Oh, look, as a mother, most of you probably do this. If you're a parent, you probably do this. You're always looking ahead for your children's clothes. You've got a children's clothing stockpile. That's pretty much what it is. It might be pajamas for next year. It could be socks for next year, school uniform for next year, whatever. But think about doing it for yourself too, so that you are buying ahead, even if it's just the basics like socks, PJs, underwear, so that you've got those things put away. Then you don't run out, but you've got the option, you've got time to wait till it comes on sale. So your favourite ones come on sale and then you can buy them. You're not pushed to buy them and you know that you've got them. Now, I like a particular style of sock. I have worn this particular. Hannah just rolled her eyes at me.
I started it.
You did start
You
it.
copied me and took them on.
But I like this particular style of sock. And I wear them just about all year round. They're really comfortable, they're cotton, they're nice, they're not too tight, they're just really good socks. And they're inexpensive. From Kmart, they were 3 pairs for $5. Really good. Have been able to get them for years. Except that this year they don't stock them anymore. And I was like, because I went to get some new ones and I went, oh no, they don't have my socks anymore. Not to worry, I have enough put in the drawer for probably the next 5 or 6 years, but I'll just have to start, darning them and hand washing them or something, put them on a gentle cycle to make them last. But things like that, honestly, nothing more frustrating. But T-shirts, if you've got your favourite style of T-shirt or a favourite colour, a favourite brand, don't be afraid. T-shirt's a T-shirt, guys. Seriously. Polos are the same. Long sleeve T-shirts, pajamas, nighties. I always buy ahead on when I see them on sale, track pants for Wayne, because he's so hard to fit. He's a weird shape. He's tall, but he's got a really long body and sort of shortish legs. He's not evenly spaced. He'll kill me for saying that. He's not even. He's got this really long body, and then in comparison, his legs are quite short. So I have a particular brand of track pants. So when they're on sale, I buy them and put them away for him. Same with his jeans. But slippers. Now, Mother's Day every year, I get slippers. That's my Mother's Day present. But they're not always available on Mother's Day. So when they're available through the year, we buy them ahead. We put them in the stockpile. All sorts of things that we can do for ourselves, not just our children. So thinking about a clothing stockpile for ourselves works quite well. Then there's the linen stockpile. We have sheets in use and towels in use, but I have spares as backups too. So once a towel or a bath mat or a face washer is just too ratty to be used for that, it gets turned into cleaning cloths or wadding for a pot mid or something, I can bring out. I don't have to search. I know I've got a backup and it comes out straight away. As soon as that backup comes out, I start looking for a replacement for it so that I've always got the backup. I do that with our sheets, the towels, sheets, towels, pretty much all our linen. I do that with pillow slips, doona covers, pillows. Pillows are a bit hard to store, but we have spare pillows because the visitors that come, we need, you're right, we need pillows for visitors that come. So I have spare pillows, and again, pillow is that sort of thing that you just get comfortable. You just make it to the way it's nice for you, and it's time to change it because it's gone flat and lumpy and awful. So, and then the last one is gift stockpile. Now I'm sure we've all got present boxes and we buy things or make things, put it in the present box to be used for a gift. That's your gift stockpile. So you've got all those things in it, but you can add wrapping paper, because who doesn't have a stash of wrapping paper? Even if it's just a small stash, we've all got a stash of wrapping paper. Gift bags, and they can be new or recycled. And I think the card ladies are the queens of recycling gift bags. They're really good at it. Cards and envelopes for birthdays, Mother's Day, Father's Day, anniversaries, new baby, weddings, engagements, christenings, get well, have a nice holiday, whatever. Having a stash of cards and envelopes ready to go, so that all you have to do is write in them, is such not only a time saver, but it's a huge money saver too. If you make the cards, it's even more of a money saver. Gift tags, sticky tape, staplers, double-sided tape, ribbons, bows, curling ribbon, all those sorts of things that you use for wrapping up gifts can all be a part of your gift stockpile. Boxes, you might like to recover them, get pretty boxes and just, you know, put a sticker over the decal or whatever. Some boxes are actually quite plain. Tins also I have in my gift stash from gift sets that we've been given, and the tins are really pretty, so they get used for different things too to present a gift. They are all things that you can stockpile. They're all things that if you buy ahead and buy on sale, you're going to save money. Now, that sounds like a lot. It sounds like a huge amount of stuff to have in your house. But if you break it down like that, my gift stockpile is just one tub, one plastic tub from Kmart with a lid on it. That's it. Everything fits in there for the gift stockpile. The first aid stockpile fits in one box and it sits on a shelf in the linen cupboard. The garden stuff is out in the garden shed, but again, doesn't take up a lot of space. It's the seeds are in a bag. I have all my seeds in brown paper bags, and then stand them up in another bag. I'm going to sneeze, I think. Oops, something's gone up my nose. Sorry, folks. You know, the icy pulse sticks are in a little jar on the side there with a Sharpie in it so that I can get to them. They don't take up a lot of space. Same with the toiletries. They just fit under in our house, under the bathroom sinks, in the bathroom cupboards. That's where I keep the toiletries. I split it between the two bathrooms, and that's just where they go. The cleaning stuff is in the laundry cupboard. I have tins, for big tins with lids, for the laundry soap, the borax, the washing soda, and the bicarb soda. Got them from the reject shop a long time ago on clearance, so they were really cheap. But they're nice big sturdy tins with lids, and they fit on the shelf and hold about 2 years worth of everything if I fill them carefully. So they're really good. It doesn't take up a lot of space. Those things don't take up a lot of space. Everything else goes under the laundry sink, except for the dishwasher powder and the dishwashing liquid, which lives under the kitchen sink. There's not a lot of space. It doesn't take up a lot of space. The non-food stockpile, so things like the patty pans in the cupboard above the oven, because it's a really stupid, wasted little cupboard, but it's narrow, tiny, pokey little thing that you can't actually put anything much in. So the patty pans are up there. Bottom drawer in the kitchen holds the foil and the cling wrap and the baking paper. The drawer here behind me has oven bags and the green bags. I didn't have those on my list, did I? No. Oh, my fresh and crisp bags in that drawer there. So they're handy to get to. It doesn't take up a lot of space. Same with the freezer. You know, my mum used to always say, doesn't matter how much space you have or how much space you don't have, you will expand to fill the space. I could live in a 50-room mansion, and I'm sure I could expand to fill that space. I don't. I just live in an ordinary 4-bedroom house, and, you know, whoever built it didn't put a lot of cupboards in. Trust me, did not put a lot of cupboards in. It was poorly designed in that time. But none of this stuff takes up a whole heap of room. You know, I don't have stuff, boxes stashed everywhere and piles of things, apart from craft stuff. Lots of craft stuff stashed everywhere. But otherwise, everything has a home, and it lives in that home. It doesn't take up a lot of space. So, go now. All right, so they're the different things that different stockpiles. We covered food last week and the shortages, and I just mentioned before about the shortages for medicines, and there are still limits on some medicines. Even some over-the-counter medications still have limits on them. You can only get one at a time. So they're things that perhaps if you rely on them, you use them a lot, plan ahead and build your stockpile. Ditto for things like oven bags, the freeze bags, the foil, the cling wrap, all those baking paper, all that sort of stuff. Because chances are, if it's not made in Australia, very soon it could be very hard to get. You might have noticed that some things are already hard to get. I know I've been listening to people talk about trying to get just ordinary shoes, plain old shoes, not designer label shoes, just plain old shoes, regular shoes. Can't get them. Jeans. Yeah, jeans are in short supply. Unless you want to pay $200 for a pair of jeans. But if you are a Big W, Target, Kmart type of person for jeans, they'll come from overseas. And so they are in short supply. They're hard to get. So you need to think of these things because the shortages, yes, there will be a food shortage, but all these other things, furnishings, guys, a lot of the furniture in our furniture stores is imported. Chances are it's going to be hard to get. Electronics, same deal, you know. I know I'm on a few canning groups, and in the USA, they are screaming out for jars and lids and rings for their canning because they just can't get them. They're in short supply. The worst part is, even though they are buying from an American company, the American company actually gets the stuff made overseas. It's not made in America. So they're short. Apart from the fact there was a run on canning supplies at the beginning of this pandemic, now they're in short supply because they're imported and there's these delays and they can't get them. We don't have quite that issue here, but some things are a bit low in stocks, but not quite that bad for canning supplies. But there are other things that, you know, could be hard to get. All right, I was just reading Lisa's comment about her script. Yeah, it's hard, I know. Sorry, guys. Kathleen, we can't get to op shops. Our op shops are closed. We haven't had op shops open for months. So, no. So, even if they had them, we couldn't get them for jeans. Kathleen's saying jeans are in op shops. Yes, they are. And they are often good quality. But we can't get to op shops. They're closed. I have a whole pile of stuff waiting to go to drop off to the op shop, and I can't even do that, and that's really frustrating me. So, yeah. Yes. Freezers and other appliances are very hard to get. They're very hard to get here in Australia. I know they're almost impossible in the USA. UK is not quite so bad, but they don't go in for, we've got any of our UK people on tonight, they don't go in for quite like, you know, I've got 1, 2, 3, I've got 4 freezers in the house. They don't quite do it the way I do it. But freezers are in short supply. Now, I know that they're in short supply here in Australia because with the kitchen remodel and everything, we were thinking of combining 2 of the chest freezers into one of the bigger, nice new, bigger upright freezers, which would have worked. I just can't get it. So if we decide to go that way, we will have to wait for a while. And maybe we'll just keep it as what we've got for the minute. But yeah, those sorts of things all in short supply. I'm just waiting. This is the warped side of me coming out. I'm just waiting for someone to say, I can't buy a new mobile phone because they're back ordered or in short supply or not being brought into the country, because that will just make me laugh, because Hannah will back me up on this. Yeah, I use my phone until it's so outdated that it just, it's a dinosaur, literally just about, well and truly vintage. I don't, my mobile phone, all I need a phone to do is take calls and send calls and take photos now, because now I know how to do the photos. But things like that, anything that's going to come into our country or is coming into our country, we have the potential to not be able to get it. Now, I'm not saying all these things will suddenly disappear, because I don't think they will suddenly disappear, but they will dwindle down, and there will be gaps, and there will be, feast or famine? So there might be plenty and then there'll be none. So, and it's not just the pandemic, but a part of the pandemic is another global financial crisis, although it was actually starting before the pandemic hit. So, but it has the potential to just make our lives really difficult if we don't prepare for it. I'm not saying to race out and spend every cent you have buying everything you need right now. That's not the way to do it. I would never tell you to do that. That is not the way to do it. I would say make your shopping lists, look for what you can get on half price, look for what you can get marked down. Do it that way. If you can get some things on half price, then you buy. If you would normally buy one, then you buy 2, because you're only paying the same price as one. If you would normally buy 2, buy 4 and double the value of your dollar. Do it that way, because otherwise you have you run the risk of buying in a panic, even if it's a controlled panic, and you'll end up with stuff that you're not going to use. You'll end up with the wrong stuff because you've bought it because you've seen it. And it might be that lovely length of dress fabric, which is sort of getting to be a bit hard to get nice dress fabric, and you've looked at it and thought, yes, I've got to have it because one day I'll need to make a dress. And it's going to sit in your sewing room or on your linen cupboard shelf or whatever, because when you really get it home and look at it, you think, well, it's not that nice, and I'm really never going to make a dress because I can barely sew on a button. So think about the things that you buy and how you do them. Now, I have bought more wool, knitting wool and crochet cotton, but I go through it like a great rate of knots. So it gets used. It does not languish in the knitting bag or in the corner or anywhere in our house. It gets used often. But I've noticed that some of my regular brands that I like just aren't available. They're temporarily out of stock. So, and they're getting rather pricey. So I stocked up on a few of those things because I use them all the time. If you are a knitter or a crocheter or a sewer, or you do tapestry or embroidery, or perhaps you need to add to those pantries too, as you can afford it. But again, only buy what you will use. Buying it if you don't use it means you are either going to have to try and sell it to recoup the money, or you're going to have to donate it to op shop or nursing home or something, or try and palm it off onto a friend. So only buy what you use. For this, the purpose of these videos, only buy what you use. We are building up your using pantries. So only get what, have I said it enough times? Only buy what you use. These are your working pantries that we are working on building up. We're aiming to give you a month or 3 months or 6 months or 12 months, however long you want your pantry to last. That's what we're aiming for. I don't want anyone to go into any debt to do this. I don't want anyone to panic about doing this. Just think about it, go about it calmly. It's really hard in Melbourne at the moment because you're only allowed out for 1 hour once a day to go shopping, and you have to shop within 5 kilometres of your home. So it makes it a bit tricky, but at the same time, we are sort of blessed because most of us have at least 3 of the major supermarkets within that 5 kilometres of our home that we can get to. So, you know, we are sort of, I don't know, everything's up in the air. We're sort of blessed to be able to do that too. So if we can't get it at Coles, we might be able to get it at Aldi or Woolworths or IGA or Foodworks, whatever. Whatever your stores are, if you're in Queensland or Western Australia, Tassie, you know what your stores are within, you know, a reasonable distance of your home to be able to shop. So, all right, now. Oh, Colleen's just bought her first chest freezer. Yay! You will love it. Absolutely love it. Colleen, go to my blog. Here you go. Go to my blog, and that's Debt Free, Cashed Up and Laughing is my personal blog. And look for the post about how I organise the freezer with the coloured bags. Chest freezers, you know, look, I'm not short, but I'm not really tall either. And so chest freezers can be a bit of a challenge. But if you use the coloured bag system for sorting and organising, so much easier for you. And it is pretty simple. I use red bags for red meat, yellow bags for chicken, green bags for vegetables, blue bag is cakes and bread and muffins and things like that, and the pink bag is fruits. So I just lift them out, and they're just the Coles bags, gross, you know, the shopping bags that we get, just in different colours. And I've got labels on them. I printed off labels and laminated them to tie to the handles so everyone would know. And you just lift them out, take out what you want, put it back. So much easier. Really, really good. And you will love the benefits of having a freezer. Absolutely love it. Candles and a dolphin torch for the emergency. Lisa. Okay, she's waiting for candles, plain candles, and a new dolphin torch for emergency in case power goes out and the kids get scared. Bless them. Okay, so I didn't have those things on my list, but I will tell you, we don't have candles. I'm not a fan of candles in the house, even though we're all adults. Still not a fan of candles in the house, but we have all our phones have torches in them, but we also have wind-up torches that we got from Kmart. They were $5 each. Best things ever. Just crank them up, and they have such a good light. They are really good. We have a wind-up radio, AM/FM radio. Same deal. Crank it up, give it a wind, and so if there's no power, we can at least get some sort of news with the radio. They are really, you know, really, they were very inexpensive. The radio came from Anaconda, I think. We've had it a while, but so handy. Now it travels with us for camping, and so do a couple of the wind-up torches because they're so convenient. We don't need batteries. We also have solar chargers for our phones. I haven't got my phone here, but just little solar chargers for our phones. Plug our phone in, pop it outside or pop it in a window. They're a bit slower than the electric charge, but it will keep the phone charged. They weren't very expensive either. I think they were about $15. If you've got a car charger, you can charge it off the car if you want to. But little things like that do make life much easier. Now, I did post a thing on Facebook, I think on Cheapskates Chatter last week, or maybe I didn't, can't remember. I saw an ad come through for CommBank about, you know, it was nine things to do when the power goes out or something. And I think my comment at the time was, well, do they know something we don't know? If you remember 4 years ago, 5 years ago, South Australia had a horrific summer and Adelaide was without power for days. It would go on and then it would be just, it would be a brownout, so they'd have minimal power and they couldn't run air. It was just enough to keep the fridge going pretty much. They couldn't run cooling. They were in the midst of a horrible heat wave. It was in the 40s. It was awful. And then, of course, back when my kids were little, we had the power station here in Victoria. The power station blew up or whatever it was, and we had no power for over a week, well over a week. At the time, we were so lucky because we had gas cooking and gas hot water, but and gas heating. It was winter, it was cold. Do you remember that? No? It was a shocker. So that was a terrible thing. So I like to sort of be a little bit prepared for things like that too. But I did get a giggle out of the CommBank ads saying, you know, do they know something for this summer that we don't know? We need to plan ahead. Anyway, so I just thought I love this system. But I put cakes, I don't put cakes in my chest freezers, so I use the blue for fruit. Couldn't find pink when I set it up. It works, doesn't it, Estelle? Works really, really well. Okay. Hi, Judy. How are you feeling? Small chest freezer? Yes. Yeah. All right. Janice likes the coloured bag idea. It works really, really well, folks. Coloured bags. Then everyone knows, and it's simple if you use red bag for red meat, yellow for chicken because it's sort of a white meat yellow colour, green for veggies. It sort of works. It's sort of instinctive. Boil the kettle for the kids to have a bath. Yeah, oh my gosh. Do you know what? That's where your wet wipes come in so handy. Wet wipes Wonder Wash. Trust me, when we're traveling for 6 to 8 weeks in the middle of the desert, the Wet Wipes Wonder Wash, morning and night, so good.
Julie asked early on, is there a replacement for citric acid because she's allergic?
Oh, I don't know if there's a replacement for citric acid. If you're allergic to citric, how are you with tartaric? Because it might be, I honestly don't know, but I would be thinking tartaric would be about the same. I'm not really sure, Julie. I'm sorry, I can't help you with that. But you know what? Denture tablets. Push comes to shove. If you're thinking of cleaning for the bathroom, for the toilets and sinks and things, denture tablets. You know, the Sterident tablets will do a similar job. Now, I don't know if they've got citric acid in them. Read the label and see. I don't know. Yeah. Chest freezer, yep. Yes, and Janice, everything, all dry goods go into the freezer for at least a week. They're usually there in our house for much longer. I usually leave them in the freezer until we're ready to use them. Just makes life easier. Okay. Glad to hear it, Judy. Okay. Which storms we had? Solar powered. Yes, solar powered lanterns and the garden lights. Solar powered garden lights are good for bringing, put them out during the day, bring them in at night. They work well too. Oh, sorry, I do need new glasses still. Outback 6, what a wet wipe wonder wash. Sorry, wet wipes, baby wipes. And it's just when we're camping, because we have to carry our water with us, so we don't have a lot of spare water for showers and things. So I have a wet wipe wonder wash, which means I use wet wipes. So one for each foot, one for each leg, one for each arm, one for my face, couple for my back, couple for my front. It goes like that. I think they're 80 to a pack, and one pack lasts about 5 days, depending on how grimy I feel. Honestly, they're so cheap, $1.80 a pack, that I don't mind using them. It's just they're bulky to carry when we're packed to the gills with other stuff, but it works really, really well. And if push comes to shove, boil the kettle, stand the kids in a bucket, put some cold water in, add the boiling water, then put the kids in, test it first, don't want to scald their little selves, and a bucket, do it the old fashioned way, baby through the dirtiest person, so that everyone gets a chance at having a wash. Yeah. Okay. All right. What can wet wipes be reused for after washing? I don't wash them. I usually toss them. We're usually in the middle of the bush, so I burn them. But if you wanted to, they don't launder very well because they tend to break up in the laundering, but they're really good upholstery cleaners. If you want to use baby upholstery, so if you've got fabric upholstery in your car, or the velvety, the suede velvety upholstery in your car, baby wipes are great for cleaning that. Quick cleanups around the house, around light switches and things like that, doorknobs and stuff, works really, really well. All right, so yeah, no, Estelle, they won't go through the washing machine. They tend to break up. They're even in a bag, even if you put them in a lingerie bag, they would be, they're not really suitable for that. You could try, they would make good dusters, so that's probably about it. Okay, guys, it is, I've gone over time. Sorry, folks. Time for me to go. Thank you so much for joining me. I would really appreciate it if you would give us a thumbs up if you like tonight's show. If you haven't already subscribed, please do, and click the bell so that you'll be notified when there's an upcoming show. You won't have to rely on me to remind you, or your memory to remind you, because YouTube will do it for us. Aren't they good? And I will be back next week, and I'll talk about building a pantry of things you don't necessarily use that might be handy in an emergency, or a food shortage, or a clothing shortage, or whatever, a pandemic. So I'll talk to you then. Have a lovely week. Stay safe, stay warm or cool if you're in the Northern Hemisphere. And I'll see you then. Thank you so much for joining me. Good night. I'm going to click in. Yeah. Bye.